All right, so have you ever thought about, like, is marriage really worth it? Especially these days. It's like you're killing it in life, loving your freedom, maybe even, like, peeking at those arranged marriage sites just to
Mhm.
see what's out there. But then you've got your married friends, and they're giving you the full rundown from best thing ever to, like, don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's a question that I think is causing even more debate now as like ideas about relationships and what it even means to be successful change.
Totally. So to figure this out, we're going to dive deep into all these opinions we found in this crazy online forum. People were brutally honest about the good, the bad, the ugly of marriage today.
And it wasn't just like surface stuff. We're talking deep down, real thoughts that really show what people are struggling with about marriage.
Oh, for sure. One quote that really got me was, "A good marriage is worth its weight in gold. A bad marriage is a plague injected into your brain." Talk about some intense opinions,
Right.
right? It really shows how marriage can be amazing or completely awful.
It does. You could have this deep, meaningful partnership, or you could feel stuck and totally drained. No wonder people are like, is it even worth the risk?
Right. It's like everyone's trying to figure out how to get lucky in love. Some people in the forum were saying that if you just like work on yourself and improve your, energy, that's how you'll find a great partner.
Which makes sense. Personal growth is so important in any relationship,
Hmm.
and there's actual science behind it.
Yeah.
Like attachment theory says, our childhood affects how we connect with people. So working on ourselves can help us have healthier relationships.
So it's not just about good vibes and magically finding the perfect person. There's real psychology involved.
Exactly. But of course, not everyone agrees with that.
Yeah.
Some people see marriage as like a total coin toss, no matter how much you work on yourself.
So no guarantees, even if you're putting in the effort. Huh? That's kind of scary, but also kind of freeing.
Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of like, who knows?
Yeah.
But hey, let's not forget the funny side of all this. One comment was like, definitely get married. If you get a good wife, you'll be happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher.
Huh. Always got to look on the bright side. But jokes aside, that comment kind of says that even tough relationships can help you grow. It's all about how you see it.
Totally. Being able to find meaning even when things are hard, that's resilience. And you
Yeah.
definitely need that in any long-term relationship.
Okay, resilience is key. Got it. But let's talk about the big one. Cheating. This was a huge topic in the forum. Some people had some wild stories. One guy even said, "In my office, everyone is hooked up with everyone." Like, whoa!
Yeah, whether he's exaggerating or not,
Yeah.
that comment shows how worried people are about cheating.
Hmm.
It makes you wonder if it's as common as we think, or if it's blown out of proportion.
Right, because some people were saying they know tons of couples who are super happy and committed. Cheating never even crosses their mind, so obviously it's not happening to everyone.
That's where like personal character comes in. Some people think that if someone's going to cheat, they'll do it no matter what, married or not. It's not about marriage itself. It's about the person.
That's an interesting way to look at it. So if marriage doesn't automatically mean cheating, then why are fewer people getting married? Especially in places like India. Could be that people are realizing you don't have to be married to be happy.
I think that's a big part of it. People are realizing marriage isn't the only way to have a good life. They're focusing on their own goals, their independence, even trying out different kinds of relationships.
It's like the whole get married, buy a house, have kids plan is changing. Now it's more about doing what's right for you.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean marriage is going away. There are still tons of people who love the commitment, the companionship, the shared journey that marriage can offer.
So it's not that marriage is irrelevant. It's more like people have more choices now.
Exactly. And for some people, especially women, marriage still means security. Emotional and financial. That's something you can't always find elsewhere.
It seems like there are good arguments on both sides. Maybe it all comes down to what you want, what's important to you, and finding the right person. Married or not.
You got it. There's no one answer to the "is marriage worth it" question. What works for one person might be terrible for someone else. It depends on your goals, your values, and who you're with.
So instead of asking if marriage is worth it in general, maybe we should be asking if it's right for us specifically.
Exactly. You got to really think about it and talk to your partner. What do you expect from marriage? What are your deal breakers? How will you face challenges together?
Whoa, those are some deep questions. It's easy to get caught up in the wedding and all that. But you're right, talking about the day-to-day stuff is important too.
Oh, yeah, because we often have these perfect ideas about marriage. From society, our families, even movies.
Yeah.
But real life is way more complicated.
Like when you have to deal with in-laws, money problems, disagreements about parenting, all those curveballs life throws at you.
For sure. And that's when your relationship is really tested. Can you communicate? Can you compromise? Can you support each other through thick and thin?
So a successful marriage means balancing your own needs with your shared goals.
Pretty much open communication and being willing to change together are so important. You're not becoming one person. You're two people choosing to be a team.
But what about the people who say marriage is outdated? That it doesn't make sense in today's world? How does that fit with the fact that so many people still want to get married?
That's a good point. It's true that the reasons people used to get married, like needing money or social pressure, have changed, especially with women being more independent and accepted for who they are.
So in some places, it's more of a personal choice now, not a societal expectation. But even with those changes, marriage still means a lot to many people. It's a way to show love and commitment, a big life event, and a way to start a family.
Exactly. You can have the symbolism and the tradition without following all the old rules.
Yeah.
It's about making marriage your own, setting boundaries, and creating a partnership that feels real and fulfilling.
So it's not about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about building a relationship that reflects your values and dreams.
Exactly. And that's the amazing thing about marriage, the potential for deep connection, support, and growing together. But that only works if both people are all in, willing to put in the work, and open to change.
It all comes back to that question. Is marriage the right choice for you? And if it is, are you both ready for the challenges and the amazing parts of building a life together?
And are you choosing marriage for the right reasons? Do you really want this partnership and to grow together, or is it because of pressure, fear of being alone, or some fantasy that's not realistic?
Being honest with yourself and your partner about what you want and what you're willing to give. That's so important.
It is, because marriage is an investment. You invest your time, your energy, your emotions, your vulnerability, and like any investment, there are risks and rewards.
So it really is like signing up for this huge project.
Right.
Right?
That's a good way to think about it, but the rewards can be amazing, don't you think? That deep connection, always having someone's back, sharing good times and bad, building a family in a home full of love, those are pretty powerful reasons to do it.
Oh, yeah. Those are the things that make it all worth it. But those rewards don't just fall into your lap.
Right.
You got to work for it, be willing to compromise, and always put effort into the relationship.
Exactly. It's not about finding the perfect person or expecting a fairy tale. It's about finding someone who gets you, respects who you are, and helps you become the best version of yourself.
And someone who challenges you, supports your growth, and is there for you no matter what. Life can be unpredictable.
Someone you can laugh with, cry with, and dream with, knowing that you're a team. That's what a truly great relationship is all about, whether you're married or not.
So after all this back and forth about marriage, do we have a clear answer? Is it worth it or not?
Like we've been talking about, there's no easy answer. It's a super personal decision, and it depends on so many things, like what you want, your goals, what society expects, even your culture. And even within a marriage, things can be totally different depending on the people and how much effort they put in.
It sounds like it's less about following the rules and more about figuring out what works for you.
Exactly. That might mean traditional marriage, trying out different kinds of relationships, or even making your own path. The important thing is to be thoughtful, make choices that feel right, and create a life that makes you happy.
So after hearing all this, what do you think? What makes sense to you?
What are your hopes and fears about marriage? What do you want in a partner and a relationship?
And what does your happily ever after look like? That's a big one.
These are things to think about. Maybe even talk about with people you're close to.
You know, sometimes the best conversations aren't the ones we hear on shows like this. It's the ones we have with ourselves and the people we care about.
Definitely. So take what you've learned today, think about what's important to you, and keep exploring what love, commitment, and partnership really mean to you.
You know, we talked about fewer people getting married, but what about those other types of relationships, the ones that are becoming more popular?
Right. Are those just trends, or are they real ways to find lasting happiness? And how do they change what we think commitment means?
Yeah.
This could be a whole other conversation.
And how does society and our culture affect how we see marriage and commitment in the first place? Are we really making our own choices, or are we just following what people have been doing for generations?
Makes you wonder how much of what we believe about relationships is really ours, and how much comes from our families or where we grew up. Really interesting stuff.
These are all such good points, and we've just scratched the surface. We want you to keep talking about this even after you're done listening.
Yes. Talk to your friends, your family, your partner. Share what you're thinking, your worries, your hopes, and really listen to what they have to say. even if it's different from what you believe.
Because when we're open and honest with each other, that's when we really start to understand ourselves and what it means to connect with someone.
And who knows, maybe through these conversations, you'll figure out what your own happily ever after looks like.
So keep asking questions, keep challenging what you think you know, and keep looking for those relationships that bring you joy, help you grow, and make you feel like you belong.
And with that, we're going to wrap up our deep dive for today. We'll see you next time.
Wow, it feels like we've only just started talking about all this. There's so much to unpack with this whole marriage thing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so interesting. It's not just one question. It's about how our values, what society says, even our own past experiences, all kind of mix together to shape how we see love commitment and what it means to have a good life.
Like, remember those arranged marriage websites we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I'm really curious about how those actually work. Like, how involved are families? How do people use those sites and make such a big decision?
You know what? That could be a whole deep dive on its own. To look at the cultural stuff, how those sites have changed, and what it's like for the people who use them to find a partner.
Totally. And since we're talking about different cultures, it'd be interesting to see how people view marriage in different parts of the world. Like, what's the same? What's totally different? How do things like money, religion, and gender roles affect marriage around the world?
It makes you think about how what we think is normal about love and marriage might just be because of where we come from. Seeing things from different perspectives can really open your mind.
So true. And while we're talking about challenging what we think we know about the legal and financial stuff that comes with marriage, we talked about security, but not really about things like prenups, splitting stuff up if you get divorced, or dealing with stepfamilies.
Those are all super important things that sometimes get forgotten when you're thinking about the romance. It's important to remember that marriage isn't just about feelings. It's also a legal and financial agreement. Understanding that is key to making smart choices.
It's like we need a whole other deep dive just to talk about the practical side of marriage, like the legal stuff, the money planning, how to parent together, all those things that come after the honeymoon phase.
Maybe that's a good idea for a future episode. But for now, I think the most important thing for our listeners to remember is that this conversation about marriage doesn't stop here. Keep thinking about it, keep talking about it, and keep learning more.
Exactly. Keep asking the tough questions. Keep challenging what you think you know and keep looking for answers that make sense for you and what you want.
Because at the end of the day, the right answer about marriage is the one that feels right in your gut, the one that helps you build a life full of love, purpose, and real connection.
And that's a wrap for our deep dive today. We hope you enjoyed thinking about these big and interesting questions with us.
Until next time, keep diving